Greetings, everybody. Breitling here with John Ayling, CEO of LD Holdings, and it's my pleasure to bring him back to do the second half of the interview. We're also doing another interview you guys need to be aware of coming up here pretty soon, and I'll answer a lot of your questions. Anybody got any questions for John? It's info@ldholdings@gmail.com, and you'd more than be happy to answer your questions. But let me jump right into this, John. Can we go over again real quick the value drivers and why people should be in this investment?
Sure. Hi, Tony. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks.
The value drivers for the baby boomer generational businesses that we're doing are really three, and they're large, each one of them on their own. The segment of the marketplace that we're looking at is the $2 to $25 million sales-wise businesses out there. And the reason why we're targeting that industry is because of Dodd-Frank that was aimed at the legislation was aimed at corralling the larger money-centering banks after the financial fallout in the last 3 or 4 years. They put regulations in to try to corral some of that excess that was going on with the large banks. But the regulations hit the small and medium banks, the regional and local banks, which are really the backbone of financing for small businesses. And it also is the backbone of all net new job creation small businesses are. So the Dodd-Frank regulations and the tightening up by regulations has really hurt the regional and especially the community banks, which are really the lenders of businesses to these small businesses. So those businesses, so those businesses are those banks are kind of out of the business to lend these small businesses. So these big baby boomer owners that are selling, they might be able to find someone who's interested in buying, but these businesses that we're targeting are really kind of too large for an individual to finance, but they're too small for institutional investors to really be interested in. So we're bringing in our type of financing and trying to augment that with these smaller investors. And when you buy these businesses from a baby boomer owner, they're usually either owned by a few investors or a family, and they don't have audited statements, which means they're not transparent. You really can't see what is going on inside them by a third-party verification and audit. And they're not liquid. These business owners have to find a business broker, somebody to sell it for them. But when you take them from that non-liquid, meaning they can't sell them to anyone except through a one transaction, and not the transparency, they're not transparent, and you bring them into a public market, now they become transparent and they become liquid. And because of that state, moving from one state to the other, it gives you a much higher valuation, sometimes 2 to 3 times. So a value driver is, as we buy a company for, say, $3 million, we would get a valuation in the marketplace of $6 to $9, maybe $10 million, 2 to 3 times valuation. So we get what they call an arbitrage between private market values and public market values. So that by doing the work and bringing them from private to a public state, we get a much higher valuation, which accrues to our shareholders, which accrues to the stock going up. So that's one very, very large value driver. A second value driver is bringing in new blood and younger entrepreneurial managers that are replacing these baby boomer owners that are probably tired. They don't want to make any more investment in their company. They probably are falling behind in technology. And you bring these younger entrepreneurial managers in, along with the abilities to maybe cut costs as a percentage of sales. You now widen your margins by accentuating the marketing side of things with these younger, more energetic managers. And you widen your margins, which will give another boost to profits, which will give another boost to the stock, which is your price of your valuation going up. So we hope our stock has a steady northeast, what I call a northeast pattern, going from the lower left to the upper right on the chart. The third one which is very important also, as we bring companies in to LD Holdings, and they have their own rampable and scalability to them, we then would be able to spin them off as their own operating company, which then would bring portions of ownership of those companies to existing LD Holdings shareholders. So 3 things that will happen with value drivers is you'll get a valuation bump from the arbitrage between private and public market values. You get organic growth through the younger entrepreneurial managers and putting more efficient business operations in place. And then you get extra shares of companies that are spun off of the parent company into their own public companies. So it's almost like a dividend coming into an existing
right.
LD shareholder. That's why it's important for an LD holding shareholder to buy their shares and hold them, because they should be getting other shares coming off on top of the growth value of the security. So those are 3 pretty good value drivers that we're looking at, and I'm sure there'll be other things that we find that will drive value, but those are 3 apparent ones that we are looking at.
Right, John. I mean, knowing the market and knowing where certain type of categories of baby boomer businesses are, I mean, it's what you have, what you set up has got to be like a prayer answered for these guys. I mean, I know that for a fact. So that's why I believe in this. And you're right. Look, it's one of those companies that the way that I perceived and looked at it, you're going to sell yourself short being a day trader in this company. I mean,
the beautiful part about a public market is you can do what you want to do. You can be a day trader if you want, although it's probably not the best thing to do with our stock in this early stage. But you could be a day trader. You could be, it allows you to dictate from your own personal lifestyle, your own personal values, what you want to do. You can buy it. You can hold on to it. If you have a change in your life circumstances, you can sell part of it. You can sell all of it. You can sell it for tax, whatever tax consequences you might have or tax planning you might have. A private company you can't do that with. So I really believe in the public markets and the ability to give people so they can vote with their own feet whenever they want, and depending upon their own individual circumstances, rather than be locked into a master partnership or an LLC where there's no liquidity.
Well, I mean, from the perspective that the way that it's set up, I mean, there's a lot the way that people can benefit from investing in long term in LD Holdings. It's unusual. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not your
The whole plan, the whole 3 constituents that we're appealing to, it's really a win-win-win situation. It's a 3-win. The baby boomer owner has the ability then to sell his company or get a liquidity event in his life, where sometimes he would be stuck in not doing that with the circumstances he's involved with. It unlocks the opportunity for younger entrepreneurial managers that want to come in and make their mark in the world and show what they can do and be incented with stock options and that type of thing, where they might not be if they're locked in the 2nd or 3rd place in a small private company and locked in behind an owner. So it gives them the ability to show what they can do and be incented for it, and it gives investors also the ability to get, we think, capital type returns without the venture to capital risk, because the business is already operating. It's not like starting them up, and these businesses we're acquiring have everything that most startups don't. So it's really a win-win-win, we believe.
Well, see, I mean, again, you're throwing stuff out there that just absolutely excites me, because I am one of those guys who gets into startup companies, and that's the risk. If the risk is at the startup, not knowing what the management can really do. I mean, you can guess, but you're looking at stuff that's already successful. It already has a track record. It already, so it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, I'm almost mad that I didn't think of it myself, John.
Well, we say that we've eliminated most of the risk of early stage companies, except for the integration and execution risk. We have to do that. That's hard work. It's integrating into a new owner or a new corporate philosophy, perhaps. and an execution risk, executing your plan. But we've eliminated a lot of the other risks that come along with will the public accept my product? Can I sell it to the public? Can I make a margin on it? You know, is an import, somebody importing going to blow me out of the water? So we eliminate a lot of that risk by doing it this way.
Right. Just real quick, because it's 11:46, so we got about 4 minutes. So I'm going to throw these two out there real quick for you. Types of investors and exit strategy. And you kind of covered those already, but
Yeah. Well, the type of investor we like to have, obviously, people can come into our company and be an owner for, a day if they want, or they can be in for a year. We believe it's in the best interest of shareholders to be in for at least a year to get a tax benefit, a lower tax rate, and so on and so forth. I will say that down the road here, we're putting a process in place so that we can bring many companies through this process, not just LD Holdings, but many different companies through this process. And the shareholders of LD Holdings will be given the opportunity to be involved with the evolving of these new companies, and we're going to categorize our partners and our what we call partners and associates in 2 or 3 different categories, and it's really by their ownership, the number of shares they own. So we'll roll that out later down the road, but we want everybody to be a shareholder in LD Holdings, whatever their risk tolerance allows them to do. But we want them to hold their shares because they will be participants in things that come on the heels of this down the road.
So that's,
I'm
sorry, go ahead, John.
And then the exit strategy is really, you have your own exit strategy because it's a public company. You have the liquidity, and you would have you have the transparency to judge what if you want to stay or not, but you have the liquidity, and you can execute it whenever you want. We think it's wise to at least be in for a year to get your tax benefit from it. But it's not a private company where you have to look around and say, okay, now how am I going to get out of this? It's not the situation here. It is a public company. That's why we like it so much.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and that's why the people that I've talked about it, it's you can get in whenever you want or get out of it, but there is a lot of benefits being in it long term, and like you said, the tax benefit, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We'll go over a little bit in another interview, but I'm going to wrap this up, John, and then what I want to do is be able to set up another interview with you if you could, and then we'll knock out just a couple of questions in general.
Okay.
Do you mind doing that?
Sounds great. No, anytime, Tony.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon, and thanks again, John. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care. See you.